Well, if you haven't heard the first part of Carolyn's wonderful education on communication, Carolyn Santos has just incredibly added even more to the second part of the interview that we started last week. Please listen to that first if you haven't listened to this segment. But now, for those that have, listen to her additional information, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that I really believe come from above, that gives her the ability to counsel so many people in building communication skills in everyday life to be able to truly have relationships that bless your life. Let's listen to our second interview, part 2. Well, welcome back. I hope you watched the first viewing of our part 1 of the segment of healthy communication with a woman who is just absolutely incredible, goes by the communication coach, but her name is Carolyn Santos. She's a friend. She's changed my life. She's changed my business life, family life, marriage life, and she's had an impact on thousands of people. If you didn't see the first part, stop this and go back and watch the first part. I'll give you a quick bio. She has been all over the world. She's been doing this for over 17 years. She's a senior consultant for this organization that has just been incredible in the development of their skills, their tools, their instruments to help build you an awareness of your communication style and the people that you live with and how to communicate better with them. So without any further ado, let's talk again with Carolyn Santos. Welcome again, Carolyn. How are you?
Jeffrey, I'm doing well. Thanks again. Appreciate your commitment to excellence of communication.
Thank you. Well, it's a blessing to have you. Let's talk about a little bit of review of what you talked about prior. You talked about the 7 types of languages that all of us have, but have great skill sets in some areas than others. So give us just a briefing on the skill languages that you teach.
The 7 communication styles fall into 3 categories. The kinetic category, the emotive category, the cognitive, people who feel, people who act, people who think. And within those categories lie the different communication styles. In the kinetic category, which is the action-oriented language, there are mover and doer. And in the emotive category, there are 2 life languages or communication styles called influencer and responder. And in the cognitive category, people who are wired first to think, then to act or feel, are the shaper, the producer, and the contemplator.
And that gives us a DNA of the way that we communicate. Although we have all those pieces you told us, we really have a skill set like anything else that is higher in the levels of what communication we speak better of, but we can speak all of them. What do you do with that? Okay, let's say that I take your instrument of a survey, you tell me back a beautiful illustration of myself. You said what was the percentage of your set that when it comes back with preciseness?
Oh, the instrument itself has a 98% reporting accuracy over the past 35 years.
That's amazing.
People who take this assessment say that it was so accurate that it was scary. I just got one of those yesterday, so this was eerily accurate. So, because it explains us.
Right.
And once we have understanding about what's going on inside, number one, we settle down. It's like, oh, I'm not crazy, right? I do have 7 voices talking to me in my head. And then people
and then some.
That's right. And then when they start talking to each other, right, it's multiplied.
Yeah.
But just that little level of understanding that I do have 7 priorities inside me, I can manage those things better, and I feel less upset sometimes or less confident because I can manage what I understand.
Oh, that's very good. Now, let's go from the first part that we talked about in regards to marriage, because that's one of the things you do, marriage retreat, marriage coaching, difficult marriage, difficult places that people get themselves into, even partners that are singular in regards to the fact that the other partner doesn't even want to communicate or even think about helping communication. You've been able to build those bridges as well. But let's move into the business realm. Let's talk about the owner and an employee. How do they communicate? And we're talking about a real... You put money in it, you put authority and responsibility, accountability. How does it spin this language thing, would you say, for the audience that are out there in that kind of world, either an employee or an employer?
Very good question, very big. So to try to summarize that, in a marriage, hopefully, we're in this to work together, and we can't get out. But in a work setting, we can fire somebody or we could quit, right? But that's very costly. They say today that to replace an employee just in an average company, it's over $25,000 to replace someone after you invest in them and in training them and what have you. But if you know going in or decide to bring someone in when you realize there are difficulties going on, it again provides a foundation of understanding. It's like, oh, okay, I'm zigging and you're zagging, and that's why we have this conflict.
Yeah.
But when the owner or employer understands, I'm wired very differently from this employee, and their skill set I need, but they drive me crazy, then they can begin to put it together and go, you're not weird. You communicate differently from me, and I can speak your language because, again, we all are a composite of all 7 communication styles. Even though I have preferred communication styles and less preferred communication styles, I know how to speak them. Just like going through college and learning Spanish and all that stuff, I can speak these languages with the accent of my native tongue. But once I begin to understand, I won't judge as quickly. So, for example, Jeffrey, you and I have very different communication styles because we've both taken the assessment. Your preferred communication style, may I say what yours is?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Everybody could guess that knows me, so
That's right. It's not hard to tell. Once you know the languages, you can start going bing, 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 because you hear and you hear and you see what they're saying. So you're a first language, preferred language influencer, which is enthusiastic, optimistic, positive, encouraging, connecting, communicating. That happens to be my 6th life language. And so where you want to connect on this level, before I understood these languages, I would have done anything to avoid you because you want to encourage, but I question your encouragement. Why? Because it's lower in my value set. But when I began to understand influencer and that's what I'm weakest in, is optimism and enthusiasm and positivity for the future, I began to realize I need Jeffrey. And because he's a healthy person, he's not going to tell me things that aren't true. So when I begin to listen to you and value you, I begin to grow as a person and go, really? You see that in me? And that if I trust and believe it, I'm going to grow and you're going to feel validated because you've gotten to touch me with the person that you are and the gifts that you have to lift me up and inspire me.
You just inspired me. Let me go back for a moment. I'm going to show an illustration. You know, you give us these charts in the book that's after we take the survey.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Zina and myself were literally opposite poles in all of our languages. It was as far away from, let's say, somebody who could communicate. Now, I dearly love that. She's my sweetheart of my life. But conflict was there when you came into our relationship because of the fact that it was like this continually butting of heads, and then you feel bad that you did it. Then you did a cross-check, especially when you went into my family and you went into the business. Talk to me a little bit about in the audience. I don't want to take all your thoughts, but I want to share it with the audience. This cross-check, you show how the right group of people working together can create an incredible team, an incredible relationship.
So using you and your precious wife, Zina, as an example, it could easily be, and Zina and you work together as well.
You're right.
So it is kind of partner, yet you have to work together on an employer-employee basis or partner basis. And because your life languages, your preferred communication styles are Zina's last. And in the workplace then, her primary languages are also your least preferred. And so if you can imagine trying to connect, she's speaking contemplator, which is down low for you. You're speaking influencer, which is last for her. And it's how do we connect? And so what we do is we just keep speaking our preferred language to each other and producing all of these crossed communications. So when you understood that as Zina being a contemplator, she doesn't need your enthusiasm and your energy and your words. She needs for you to approach her calmly, one question at a time, to wait for her to process, and to be patient as she tells you under unhurried or unrushed circumstances, giving her your undivided attention, that she's going to respond more quickly and more naturally. She won't tend to get, frustrated. It's like, don't push me, don't push me.
Mm-hmm.
When you understand that, you then don't feel that she's withdrawing or not trying to give you information. You understand she's processing. I just need to wait a moment because she's depthful, she's brilliant, and she just processes more slowly than you do.
Mm-hmm.
So if an employer understood that about an employee, in fact, may I give a real case example?
Oh, for sure, for sure.
One of my clients here in Northeast Ohio has one of the largest PR firms around. She had a gentleman join her team whose name was Dan, and he's given permission for me to share this as well as Sue. And when she's been my client 16 years, and we've gone from 4 employees now to 25 employees.
Wow.
And when he came on the team, he said, "This is the first team I've been on where I've actually been understood. In my former job, we would come into these brainstorming sessions, and the owner, who spoke mover life language, which is right here, right now, come on, dump it out. We want it fast, furious. But he's a first language contemplator. He doesn't come up with ideas quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But you give him a few hours or a few days to mull on that, he'll come up with the best ideas around. But he said, I got dinged all the time on my performance reviews for never coming to the table with ideas. Whereas now coming into the organization with Sue, she understands that he's a first language contemplator. So she will give him advance notice. Hey, we're going to have a spontaneous meeting this afternoon for ideas. Be thinking about this. Then he can come with having had time to think it through and provide incredible value to the team. Or she'll say in the middle of a meeting, hey, Dan, I'll circle around with you in a day or two to get your thoughts on this. And he settled into that place of employment with her and succeeded far beyond what he had in his other job.
It's interesting you say that, because how many owners that might be listening to this have heard about an employee that they either fired or they left, and they went on to another place that understood them, like you were just talking about this gentleman, and they blossomed. They performed at levels that he never expected them to, or she never expected them to. Just like with Zina, as you related to in our marriage, I would hear her constantly say, Caroline, and I know I've shared this with you before, but she would say, I feel like you drag me to even her own desired things. I would drag her to her goals. And I never really conceive what she was saying, because I wanted to help her achieve. I wanted to help her go through the process, because that is my language.
Yeah.
But when you taught me how to do one of the many techniques, and I want the audience to hear this, the technique that you made me really disciplined. In fact, I actually called you in for an emergency coaching session one time, because we had a little conflict and we just couldn't get through it. And it was getting longer and longer between this conflict period of time of unresolved situation. And you came in and we sat in my study, and you said, you have to wait until she thinks it through and then ask her, are you done? Because as soon as she's done, and like any of us, if I'm talking to you, you're ready. I'm ready to think about the next question before I'm even listening to you. And that's, of course, Steve Covey's back to seek, first understand. But when I had to do that, it was like, nails on a blackboard. It was like, wait another second, answer already. I need to answer. But it wasn't coming through. But when I did it, now this is the proof in the pudding. When I did it, it was like, no, I'm not done. And then the depth of the communication, the real crutch of the situation, the real feelings came out. And it was like, I had no idea that was the issue at that point.
Yeah, it is powerful. And the instrument, the parts and pieces to it, really simple. I mean, it is so simple you can learn it in a day, literally. And remind me to tell you the story about the sales rep and what she was able to do in 90 days with her understanding of the languages. And just like you said with Zina, because she likes to think or speak, process, speak some more, but because you are wired to connect, communicate, and back and forth with each other, for you, it's like her pause became a period. And I shared with you, I remember sharing with you, when she pauses, it's not a period, it's a comma. You need to wait and wait until you're uncomfortable with the silence, which is hard for you and me. And then ask her, have you finished your thought? And as you said, she was able then to articulate no. But if you, in the past, when you interrupted her, what did she do?
Oh, it was done. Finished.
Shut down.
Oh, shut down. And then the punishment of silence takes place, which is the worst scenario, whether it's boss and employee or husband and wife or children. Silence is the root of all evil. If you want to use a term from the Bible, the relationship is that it causes more and more grounding and hardening of something that may have been this small. It generates into something with 40 walls around it. And that's why you got to break that by learning the communication skills that you teach. And the other part of it is nice. You don't parachute into town and do a seminar and you're out of town and gone like some expert from, another place. You really are the coaching process. And I know that we've been encouraging you to start even online coaching, which you do, phone coaching, I know, and a lot of other coaching. That's so valuable. Coaching is probably the one thing that's becoming more aware, but the least used in this country because of the fact that we think we have enough knowledge, internet, Google knowledge, that we can find anything we want to find on YouTube. The truth of it is, having the instrument you bring to the table, having your 17 years of experience, real experience in all of the battlefields, living a real battlefield in your own life, that you're able to see the wounds as well as know the scars, but then to come to it with the answers and solutions that are not quick fixes, not a pill that solves everything, but a true working development and skill set of disciplines that are easy to learn, but must be applied to be able to really change a life. And I think, anything's worth changing, both our own lives and the lives around us, but then we change the world because of how we affect the world all around us as well.
It's absolutely true. One of the things I love to share with folks is, and here's the crux. Would you agree with me, Jeffrey, that what we don't understand, we as human beings have a tendency to judge?
Wow, very good.
Right?
Yes.
So when I can help people come to understanding, true understanding, not just knowledge, but understanding and acceptance, and then tell them exactly what to do about it, and it never changes, then true understanding happens, and then we stop judging as harshly. We begin to see people as just different, truly different, and valuable because of their difference. Because as I mentioned, you and I share very different communication styles, but I need what you provide and vice versa, because you could lack some of the skill sets that I have, but if you judge me because I'm different, you'll never listen to me. But when you have understanding and just listen, you may get one little tweak of information that causes you to turn that screw 1/4 turn and everything works better. Then people get results. And that's the difference that I see in my world all the time. People get results. And that's what makes it better.
It's so important what you just said. I want to tap into that sales rep 90-day program, but here's what I want you to just emphasize with the audience. You've taught that in 7 languages that we all have, but we do excel in 1 or 2, of those 7. When we recognize that we have all 7, we become one with everyone we're around. We become able not to judge and be able to connect with everybody. Maybe not everybody on the best level and at all high levels, but we can at least appreciate without judgment and maybe just understanding. And maybe we walk away from that relationship because it's not healthy for our lifestyle where we're journeying to. But the truth of it is that with knowing thyself, it's easier to know others. And once we know others, we say, hey, they're not that far away from who I am, but in a different language and a different characteristic. And so it doesn't matter whether it's a different color, it doesn't matter if it's a different nationality, it doesn't matter if it's a different gender. It really changes the game of really understanding, like you said, without judgment.
I love the way you say things, Jeffrey. It's very clear, that gift that you have. Communication helps us connect. The foundation of the program is communication, but it is also backed up with character. And what we teach is character-based communication, because anybody can just fly off the handle and say a bunch of words, but we want to become people of excellence, both in our communication, but we communicate out of the person, out of the character that we are.
Right.
So when two people are connecting in character, I respect you, you respect me, and character transcends culture. Character and communication transcends gender, transcends nationality. It transcends it all because, as you said, we are one race, one people. And it is learning to come together with understanding that really does. Understanding is the key.
That's absolutely right. Tell us the story about the sales rep. 90 days, that's a window of 3 months. You made a major change in this person's life in business?
Yes. Her name was Shalou. One of my clients is a pharmaceutical company, a rather large one with a lot of sales reps. At the time that I was working with the company this time, they had 523 sales reps. And I was there for a refresher on the course. And Shalou came up to me and said, I want to tell you my story. She said, I've been with this company 5 years, and out of 523 sales reps, I was ranked 419. She said, I could not break out of that. She said, I went to your one-day course and I applied. Key word right there. I applied what I learned, which is really very simple, over the next 90 days. She went to her review. She found out she was 419. She had 90 days for her next performance review. At that next review, by applying what she learned, she went from 419 out of 523 sales reps to 19 out of 523 sales reps.
Oh my goodness.
By applying the power of self-awareness, she began to understand where she is weak in communication and started working on it because she can. And she was able to identify without the person taking the assessment, their preferred communication style. And when you have connection, you have greater success.
Wow.
Isn't that powerful?
That is powerful. That is powerful. Yeah. Well, why don't you tell the audience a couple of things? You've got a lot of opportunity for people to learn about you. Of course, we're going to have your connections and your web page and a lot of things on the page below us that we're speaking on. But tell them some of the things that you provide. You do retreats, you do personal coaching. Go through the menu, at least a quick menu for us as we close in regards to what is available for them with you.
Sure. I love doing work with small teams to large teams. It doesn't matter because it takes such a simple time to start with a one-day workshop or 2 half-day workshops to get that in. I'm also working on micro-learning where within the next 6 weeks or so, we'll have the course online. So it is learning the foundation of the life languages. Take your assessment, go through the workshop, and learn the skills. Beyond that, we have the communication and leadership, communication and character building, employee mediation, where we actually sit down in an office with an employer-employee or 2 supervisors or supervisor and subordinate, and we work together to bring clarity and understanding, and it happens in a short time. Beyond that, then retreats, executive staff and retreats, because what we've discussed here, Jeffrey, tip of the iceberg of what we're able to accomplish and do with this instrument to grow businesses and organizations, because we can pinpoint where you need help and where even sometimes your strengths could be holding you back. Right. So it's powerful. So we have everything from workshops to mediation to personal coaching to retreats, and whatever the need is, we can craft a course or something that doesn't yet exist because we're only limited by our creativity.
I think the most amazing part of the affordability that you make yourself through an organization, through a coach, but also now going online is going to be such an incredible door opener for a lot of people that want to take those first baby steps to see if this is a real thing, because they hear all kinds of promises. But, I'm here proof to know that, you've made the impact. I wanted to kind of interject when you were talking about the business owner and the business employee. You sat with my son, who were, having him take over the company, and he's doing an incredible job. But the conflict was like, the languages were absolutely off of the wires. It was spinning sparks. And you were able to really come in and do some mediation and your coaching and training. It didn't happen overnight. And I want the audience to know that the reality of this is not this, like we said, it's not the one pill, it's not the magic wand or fantasy that is sold. This is a real lifestyle change. Learn yourself, learn your language, learn how you communicate, then learn how to understand other people's languages so that you can communicate with them.
Yeah.
And you do that the very best. So
thank you.
To my audience, we thank all of you. I know feel the same way that I feel. We thank you, Carolyn, for being a part of a wonderful download of information about healthy living. Healthy communication is so important in every realm of our life, and making it understood that it's not that hard, that it's possible with wonderful coaches like you and the instruments that have been brought forth with the Life Language program. And for you, if you're interested, you'll be able to go right down below, click on Meet This Woman Personally, go online, get one of her courses, have her for a retreat, have her over for dinner, and have her work with your husband and wife or the kids. But understand, it's all about healthy communication. And I hope that this has given you an enlightenment to teach you, inspire you, motivate you, and empower you to transform your life to a better life. Remember, beauty and change begins within. I'm Jeffrey Paul, and my guest, wonderful guest, Carolyn Santos. Have a great day.